In 1948, an 18-year-old walking out of his father's house for the last time could change a tire in the rain, shake a stranger's hand like he meant it, start a fire with a single match, and fix most of what broke around a house without calling a soul. Nobody called that impressive. They called it Tuesday. Today, the average grown man reaches for his phone to learn how to tie a tie. These weren't talents, and they weren't hobbies. They were the baseline, the plain things a boy was simply expected to carry before the world would look at him and agree he was a man. And in about 3 generations, most of them quietly slipped out of our hands. Number 7 was passed from nearly every father to nearly every son in America, and most men today have never done it once. Number 2 used to save a family a full week's wages. Before we start, hit that subscribe button, because some of what your grandfather knew by 18 is about to put the rest of us to shame. Let's count down the 10 things every American man was expected to know by 18 that most men can't do today. Number 10. Shake a hand and mean it. It started with the handshake. A boy learned it before he learned to drive. Firm grip, dry palm, square shoulders, and eyes that stayed on the other man's eyes the whole time. Your grandfather's father taught it to him in the front hall and made him do it again if the grip was soft, because a limp handshake told the world you couldn't be trusted with anything heavier. In 1950, a handshake closed deals that no contract ever followed. A man's word and his grip were the same instrument. You hired a farmhand, bought a used truck, or agreed to marry into a family, and all of it was sealed with a hand and a look. We replaced it with the wave, the nod, the text. Recruiters now run workshops teaching college graduates how to shake hands, because the thing every 18-year-old once knew in his bones has to be taught in a conference room. Number 9. Build a fire with one match. Your grandfather could walk into cold, damp woods and have a fire going before his hands went numb. He knew to gather tinder fine as hair, kindling no thicker than a pencil, and to build it small and patient, a little teepee over a nest of dry birch bark, before he ever struck the match. One match. Using 2 was something a man quietly noticed about another man. In 1940, this wasn't a camping trick. It was heat, dry clothes, a hot meal, and sometimes survival. A boy who couldn't make fire was a boy you worried about. Now we keep lighter fluid in the garage and call it a skill. The difference is that your grandfather could do it wet, cold, and in the wind. Hand most grown men a single match and a pile of damp wood today, and they will hand you back an excuse. Number 8. Change a tire and handle a breakdown. A flat tire was not an emergency. It was an inconvenience that cost a man 15 minutes. Your grandfather kept the jack and the iron where he could reach them. He knew to loosen the lug nuts before he raised the car and to crack them in a star pattern so the wheels sat true. He taught his sons in the driveway on a Saturday, and his daughters too, because he was not going to send a child into the world who could be stranded by a single bolt. In the 1950s, a man who flagged down help for a flat got a look. You carried your own spare, and you solved your own problem. Roadside assistance turned a 15-minute job into a 90-minute wait. The wrench still fits the nut. Most men just never learned the turn of it. Number 7. Sharpen a blade. Here is number 7, the one nearly every father taught and almost no man does anymore. Your grandfather kept a whetstone in a kitchen drawer and a knife you could shave with. He held the blade at a steady angle, about the width of 2 stacked coins off the stone, and drew it across in long, even strokes, the same count on each side until the edge caught the light clean. A dull knife, he would tell you, is more dangerous than a sharp one, because a dull one slips. A good pocket knife in 1945 was sharpened weekly and carried daily, used 50 times before lunch. Today, the knives in most kitchens couldn't slice a ripe tomato, and the men who own them have never once touched a stone. The skill takes an afternoon to learn. It is just that nobody is left at the table to show it. The next few aren't quiet little skills. These are the ones that decided whether a young man could stand on his own 2 feet or whether he still needed someone to stand for him. Number 6. Do honest carpentry. Every man could build. Not fine furniture, but the working carpentry a life requires. Your grandfather could drive a nail straight in 3 strokes, hang a door so it didn't swing on its own, frame a simple shelf, and fix a sagging gate. He read a level, cut a square line, and knew you measure twice because you only cut once. In 1940, you did not buy a bookshelf. You built one, out of pine, in an evening. A boy got his own hammer young and was expected to leave the world a little more built than he found it. We outsourced all of it. The average man now owns a drawer of mismatched screws and a flat-pack instruction sheet he can't follow. The wood is still cheap. The knowing is what got expensive. Number 5. Tie the knots that hold. A man knew his knots the way he knew his own name. The bowline that wouldn't slip. The 2 half hitches that tied a load to a truck bed. The taut line that held a tent through a storm. Your grandfather learned them from his father, or the scouts, or the service, and his hands could tie them in the dark. In 1950, a wrong knot meant a lost load on the highway, a boat adrift, or a tarp gone in the wind. The right knot was the difference between a thing that held and a thing that failed at the worst possible moment. Now we buy ratchet straps and bungee cords and hope for the best. Hand a man a length of rope today and ask him to secure something to his roof and watch him reach, again, for his phone. Number 4. Pay your own way. By 18, a man was expected to carry his own weight and a little of someone else's. Your grandfather had worked since he was a boy. A paper route, a farm, a loading dock, a trade learned at his father's elbow. He knew the value of $1 because he knew exactly how many hours of his back it cost. He paid cash, he owed no one, and he would sooner go without than ask for what he had not earned. In 1948, a man who couldn't support himself at 18 was a problem the whole family felt. Independence wasn't a milestone you celebrated. It was the floor you were expected to stand on. The thing that's vanished here isn't budgeting. It is the bone-deep refusal to be a burden, the quiet pride of paying your own way that a whole generation simply assumed. Number 3. Fix it before you replace it. Your grandfather's first move when something broke was to take it apart. A leaking faucet, a dead lamp, a fussy engine, a blown fuse. He opened it up and looked, because he assumed the problem was understandable and the fix was his to make. He kept a coffee can of salvaged parts and the patience to use them. Before you could just call someone, calling someone wasn't an option, so a man learned. In 1945, replacing a thing you could repair was simply waste, and waste was close to a sin. A toaster lasted 30 years because a man kept it alive. Now, almost everything we own is sealed, glued, and built to be thrown away, and so is the instinct to even try. The most expensive thing we lost wasn't the skill. It was the assumption that a man could figure it out. Number 2. Handle yourself and stand for your family. Here is number 2, the one that once saved a family a week's wages and runs far deeper than money. A man could handle himself. He could keep his head when things went wrong, speak plainly to a man twice his size, throw a punch if it truly came to that, and far more often carry himself in a way that meant it never did. Your grandfather knew that real strength was mostly composure, the steadiness that protected the people behind him without ever needing to prove it. In 1950, a young man was expected to be the one others could stand behind in a hard moment. Calm in a crisis, dependable in a fight, and gentle precisely because he didn't have to be anything else. That quiet capability, strong enough to protect and steady enough that he rarely had to, is the thing we have had the hardest time handing down. Number 1, provide. And the thing every American man was expected to know by 18, number 1, isn't a single skill at all. It is the one that holds all the others together. He was expected to provide. Every item on this list is a piece of it. The fire and the carpentry and the repairs meant he could make and mend what his people needed. The handshake and paying his own way meant his word and his work could be trusted. The composure meant they were safe with him. Add it all up, and you get a man others could depend on, and a man who could live with himself because of it. Your grandfather wasn't necessarily rich. Most of them weren't. But he was capable, and capability in a man was its own kind of wealth. He could feed a family from a garden, warm a house from a woodpile, fix what broke, build what was missing, and stand between the people he loved and a hard world. He owed little, and he provided much. That was the whole definition of a man, and it fit in a single word. None of this was extraordinary. It was the ordinary inheritance of nearly every young man in America until, in the space of about 60 years, we mostly stopped handing it down. The knowledge didn't die. It just went quiet, sitting in the hands of grandfathers who were never asked. So here is my challenge. Pick one, just one. Learn to sharpen a knife this week. Change your own tire this weekend. Build one honest shelf out of pine. Then teach it to someone younger before the year is out, because that is the only way any of this ever traveled. Hand to hand, father to son, one ordinary skill at a time. Tell me in the comments which one your grandfather could do and which one you are going to take back first, because what these men knew by 18 was never supposed to die with them. It was supposed to pass to us.